Good morning, class. Once again, we are back with our history chapter number 5th, When People Rebel, 1857 and after. So, just a small piece of information for you. This 1857 was the national uprising that had took place in India. Okay, this was also called as a Sepoys Mutiny, or you can also known by as the First World War of Independence in India in 1857. So that's when the people started revolting. That was for the first time the people all over the India took the initiative of revolting against the British government. Okay, so now let's look at the chapter. The first topic is the policies and the people. Now let's see. In the previous chapters, you looked at the policies of the East India Company and the effect they had on different people. Kings, queens, peasants, landlords, tribal, soldiers were all affected in different ways. So it was not that only the common people were affected, but also even the kings, queens, peasants, landlords, tribal, soldiers, everyone, all of them was affected. You have also seen that how people resist policies and actions that harm their interest or to go against their sentiments. So you can always understand that they have always seen that how people was seen losing the interest against the Britishers and they were against going their policies. They were actually hurting the sentiments of the Indian people. That is why they were not very happy. Okay. Now let's see, the next topic we have is the Nawabs lose their power. Now as you all know that before independence, before Britishers came to India, India was being ruled by the Nawabs. So these Nawabs now started losing their power. Since the mid 18th century, Nawabs and Rajas had seen their power erode. They had gradually lost their authority and honor. So you can see that slowly and gradually these people have lost their authority and their honors. Why? Because the residents had been stationed in many courts. The freedom of the rulers reduced. The armed forces disbanded and their revenues and territories were taken away by stages. So slowly and gradually their Nawab's authority and their honor was lost. They were no more getting that actual respect what they were supposed to be. Residents were stationed in many courts. Freedom of the rulers were being reduced. The armed forces were disbanded and the revenues and the territories were taken away by these stages, many stages. So many ruling families tried to negotiate with the company to protect their interest. So, for example, it was Rani Lakshmi Bai of Jhansi wanted the company to recognize her adopted son as the heir to the kingdom after the death of her husband. So, this was when that Rani Lakshmi Bai of Jhansi wanted the company to recognize that her adopted son, she did not have any son of her own. According to the doctrine of lapse, the Britishers did not allow any adopted son to be known as the heir or the king of the kingdom. Okay, so I believe that you remember in the previous chapters we have learned about the doctrine of lapse. That's the same policy, but still Rani Lakshmi Bai wanted the company to recognize her adopted son as the heir of the kingdom after the death of her husband. Okay. Not only Lakshmi Bai wanted her son, adopted son as the king, but also Nana Sahib, the Peshwa, the adopted son of Peshwa Bajirao too. He also pleaded that he is supposed to be given his father's pension when his father died. However, the company is confident of its superiority and military powers turned down this plea. So, the company did not listen to their requests. They did not pay any heed to them, and finally they had not given them any allowances regarding that, because the company because of its superiority and military powers, all these requests were being turned down. Now Awadh was one of the last territories to be annexed. Okay, please underline that Awadh was the last territories to be annexed. In 1801, a subsidiary alliance was imposed on Awadh, and in 1856 it was taken over by Governor General Dalhousie. Please underline the name of the British officer, Governor General Dalhousie. He declared that the territory was being misgoverned and the British rule was indeed to ensure proper administration. So now here another tactic of the Britishers, that the territory was misgoverned. The Indian kings are not able to properly administer their kingdom. Hence, to ensure a proper administration, this territory was supposed to be under Britishers. So these are the various tactics that the Britishers had imposed, and they had also annexed this territory of Awadh in this context. The company even began to plan how to bring the Mughal dynasty to an end. So they were planning that how this Mughal dynasty could be brought to an end. Okay, so the name of the Mughal king was removed from the coins they minted. So earlier in the coins there used to be the names of the kings. So they removed this name of the Mughal kingdom, kings, from the coins that was minted by the company. Okay. In 1849, the Governor General Dalhousie announced that after the death of Bahadur Shah Zafar, the family of the king would be shifted out of Red Fort and given another place in Delhi to reside in. So now Bahadur Shah Zafar was the last Mughal king, and after his death, it was said that the rest of the kingdom would be should be left the Red Fort and live in some other place where they will be given to reside. So actually, Red Fort was the house. The fort was the house of Bahadur Shah Zafar. So in 1856, Governor General Canning decided that Bahadur Shah Zafar would be the last Mughal king, and after his death, none of his descendants would be recognized as king. Even it was declared that Bahadur Shah Zafar would be the last known Mughal king, and after that, none of his sons will be called as the princes or to be recognized as the kings. So that was the end of the Mughal era we have. Now the next topic we have is the peasants and the sepoys. Now in the countryside, peasants and zamindars resented high taxes and the rigid methods of revenue collection. Many failed to pay taxes, they paid their loans to the moneylenders and gradually lost the lands they had tilted for generations. So in the countryside, it was peasants and zamindars who were taking a lot of high taxes, and there were many types of rigid methods of revenue collection. So many of the times the poor peasants or the farmers failed to pay back their loans to these money lenders, and in return they had to give up their lands to the money lenders which they were used by generations. The Indian sepoys and the employee of the company also had reasons for discontent. They were unhappy about their pay. So not only farmers but also the Indian soldiers in the company, they had many reasons for their own discontentment. They were unhappy because they were paid less. They were also not being given allowances, and the condition of the service was also bad. Some of the new rules moreover violated their religious sensibilities and beliefs. Now there were many types of new rules which came into existence, and this was hurting them more. Did you know that in those days many people in the country believed that if they cross the sea they would lose their religion and caste? So I don't know that how many of you know or not, but yes, that was a saying that if anybody crosses the sea and go outside, they will lose their religion and caste. So when in 1824 the sepoys were told to go to Burma by the sea route to flight for the company. So it was that in 1824 the sepoys were asked to go to Burma, which they had to go crossing the sea. So this sepoys actually refused to follow these orders, and they were severely punished. Since the issue did not die down, in 1856 the company passed a new law. So since this happened, the company had to pass a new law which stated that every new person who took up the employment in the company's army, it was said that anybody who is joining the company's army had to agree that they need to go to overseas to serve if it is required. So this type of law it was being made at that time. Now the sepoys also reacted to what was happening in the countryside. Many of them were peasants and the families living on the villages. So there are many people's families staying in the countryside. So they were peasants and farmers and villagers. So to the anger of the peasants quickly spread among the sepoys. So it's very obvious that they will get anger. Now the next topic we have responses to the reforms. The British believed that the Indian society had to be reformed. Laws were passed to stop the practice of sati and to encourage the remarriage of widows. I believe that you know that what is sati system. It is usually when the husband dies, the wife is being burned alive with the husband. So that was known as sati practice, and it has to be stopped, and also to encourage the remarriage of widows. So widows are to be supposed to be getting married again. This has to be encouraged. Even English language education was actively promoted. After 1830, the company allowed Christian missionaries to function freely, so in its domain, and even own land and property. So it was that after that English language education was promoted, and after 1830 the company allowed the Christian missionaries to function freely however they want, and they were also been given their own land and property to work. In 1850, a new law was passed to make conversion to Christianity easier. A new law in 1850 was passed that to convert people into Christianity religion. This also allowed an Indian who had converted to Christianity to inherit the property of his ancestors. So it was also that a privilege been given that anybody who was converted into Christianity can also inherit the property of their ancestors who belongs to Hindu community. They can still get the property. Even many Indians began to feel that the British were destroying their religion. So the Indians were now feeling that the Britishers were actually destroying the religion, their social customs and their traditional way of life. There were of course other Indians who wanted to change existing social practices. Okay, so about them you will read in the next chapter, that is before moments in chapter number 7. And the next topic we have is through the eyes of the people. Let's see what you get as a glimpse. These are the few sources we have, source 1 and source 2. Let's see source 1 what it is. The list of 84 rules. So given here are experts from the books Majha Pravas, written by Vishnu Bhatt Godse, a Brahmin from a village in Maharashtra. Majha Pravas means my journey, written by Vishnu Bhatt Godse. Please underline the name. He stays staying in Maharashtra, a Brahmin. He and his uncle set out to attend a yajna being organized in Mathura. At the time, they went to Mathura for a yajna, that is yajna. Vishnu Bhatt writes that once they had met few sepoys on their way to Mathura, and these sepoys said that in 3 days there is going to be a huge war, so better do not go. So that was the English were determined to wipe out the religion of the Hindus and the Muslims. They had made a list of 84 rules and announced that in a gathering of all big kings and princes in Calcutta. They said that the kings refused to accept these rules and warned the English of dire consequences and massive uphill if these are implemented. That the kings and all returned to the capitals in great anger. All the big people began making plans. A date was fixed for the war of religion, and the secret plan has been circulated from the cantonment in Meerut by letters sent to different cantonments. So such was the entire planning going on. There was a next source we have. There was soon excitement in every regiment. Another account we have from the 4 days of the memoirs of Subedar Sitaram Pandey. Sitaram Pandey, he was recruited in 1812 as a sepoy in the Bengal Navy Army. He served the English for 48 years and retired in 1860. He helped the British to suppress the rebellion through his own son was a rebel and was killed by the British in front of their eyes. Though his son was a rebel against the Britishers, but still this Pandey had followed his work very loyally. After that, on his retirement, he was persuaded by his commanding officer. He was Norgate to write his memoirs. He completed writing in 1861 in Avdi, and Norgate translated it into English and had it published under the title From Sepoy to Subedar. That was what his book's title was been given. So, what is right? He wrote, Sitaram Pandey wrote that it is my humble opinion that the seizing of Awadh filled the minds of the sepoys with distrust and led them to plot against the government. Agents of the Nawabs or Awadh and the King of Delhi were all sent over to sepoys, telling them how treacherously the foreigners had behaved towards the king. They invented 10,000 lies and promises with the object of restoring the Emperor of Delhi to the throne. They maintained that this would wholly within the army's power if the soldiers would act only together and were advised. That is what Pandey has to say in his written. It's continued that it chanced that about this time the Sarkar sent parties of men from each regiment to different garrisons for instructions in the use of new rifle. These men performed the new drill for some time until a report got abroad by some means or the other that the cartridges used for these new rifles were greased with fats of cows and pigs. So it was at the time the new cartridges which came for the soldiers. It was said that they were being greased, covered with fats of cows and pigs. Now cows are sacred animal for Hindus and pigs are something bad animal for Muslims. So both of their religious sentiments were being heard. The men from our regiment wrote to others in the regiment telling about them this. There was soon excitement in every regiment and some men pointed out that in 40 years of service, nothing ever had been done by the Sarkar to insult their religion. But as I have already mentioned about the sepoys' minds and has been inflamed by the siege of Oud, interested parties were quick to point out the great aim of the English was to turn all the Christians, and they were therefore introduced the Carthaginian in order to bring about this science, but both Mohammedans and Hindus would be defiled by using them. So it was believed that people thought that they wanted to make us into Christians, hence this type of techniques they have used so that both Hindus and Muslims will get offended. The Colonel Sahib was of the opinion that huge excitement, even he thought he would fail to use or see, would pass off as it has been done before, had he recommended me to go home. So that was what the last words of Pandey. He says that Colonel Sahib was of the opinion that I should not fail to see what the pass off, but also to commend to go home. Okay, I hope you till this much you have understood well. The next topic we have is mutiny becomes a popular. This we will continue in the next class. Okay, till then let's move to the exercise questions so that I can give you homework. In your exercise, I think question number 1 and question number 2 are supposed to be your homework. Okay, let's wait. It's just to come for the exercise questions and you will get it. Question number 1, yes, question number 1 and question number 2 for your homework. Okay. Even question number 3, question number 1, 2 and 3 for your homework. Please do it. Very easy till what we have completed. Till that much only you will have to write the answers. Write the questions and write the answers. Please do not do any types of shortcuts. Okay. Okay then. Thank you class.